Father Brown, RNC, is it possible to recategorize a council as it could, as in, could Catholics, in order to make peace with the Orthodox, say that Vatican I was never really binding on the East? I think I already know. Yeah, such a great question. Thank you so much for asking that one, Father Brown, because this is such an interesting one, right? Okay. I hear this with some Eastern Catholics too, my Eastern Catholic brethren, and I just, no. Um, I all right. If a council teaches as the College of Bishops assembled in an ecumenical council, that that can't be downgraded, because it's teaching in a universal capacity. Like, upon what basis do you demote it into something regional or local if it was universal in scope? Like, now what people will try to say is that, well, you see, Paul VI spoke about, these, some of these post schism councils being general councils, general councils of the West. Yeah, I get what Paul VI was saying there, because there's not a lot of representation on part of the East in these councils, but that cuts both ways. How much representation was there at the Second Ecumenical Council? Oh yeah, there was none. There's no Western representation there. Zero, none. It was all Eastern, and it was a local council anyway. It's only later received as an ecumenical council, universally speaking. But at first, it was just a regional council in the East alone with zero Western representation. But we considered it universal, right? Even though there's no Western representation there. So here you already have an instance of something that has only representation from one side, and yet it is considered universal in nature. Well, post-schism, does the College of Bishops disappear? No. Is the College of Bishops split during a schism? No. No. It may get smaller because of a schism, but it is not like the College of Bishops is divided because of a schism, as if half of the College of Bishops is over here with the Catholics and the other half is over here with the Eastern Orthodox. And so we just can't hold an ecumenical council until we put this College of Bishops together again. Absurd. The College of Bishops is an essential part of the constitution of the church. So you can't have a split in the College of Bishops, because you would no longer have an indefectible church. You would have something essential lost post-schism, which makes no sense. We don't believe that the church can be divided in that way. We believe people can be divided from the church, but we don't believe the church can be divided itself. We believe in one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church, not two. So I say all that to say, the Catholic Church preserved the College of Bishops post-schism. Therefore, whenever it speaks as the College of Bishops assembled in an ecumenical council post-schism, it still speaks in that universal capacity, and therefore it cannot be downgraded. Therefore, you could never downgrade Vatican I to a regional council and say what it taught is somehow up for grabs, or Trent is somehow up for grabs. No, if it taught something definitively, it's definitive because it is that universal capacity, with the College of Bishops acting in an ecumenical council. You can't downgrade that without doing horrible violence to our ecclesiology. That being said, what we could do is say the disciplinary decisions are merely regional in nature, or pertain only to the West. The disciplinary decisions at these councils, those could pertain only to the West. Disciplinary decisions where the East isn't involved, yeah, why should those be imposed on the East? Those should be limited to the West. But the doctrinal teachings, that's binding on everyone, because again, it's the College of Bishops speaking in an ecumenical council. You can't downgrade that to a lower level council, because that assumes that somehow the College of Bishops has been split post-schism and there no longer is a unified College of Bishops. If you no longer have a unified College of Bishops, guess what? The College of Bishops is not essential to the nature of the church. And if the College of Bishops is not essential to the nature of the church, then, well, what do we have that's really essential to the nature of the church? What's really left at that point? Local bishops and the Pope. That's it. Ecumenical councils, then, are not an essential feature. That is a universal teaching authority made up of the bishops, is no longer an essential feature of the Catholic Church. Is that really what we want to argue because we want to somehow accommodate the Eastern Orthodox? It's absurd. So I'm glad you asked that question, because I think that this is just selling people on false hope if we tell them that, yeah, we're going to downgrade Trent, and yeah, we're going to downgrade Vatican. Stop it. No, we're not. But the disciplinary decisions, certainly, because that's discipline. That's not the same as, a universal council teaching something. Number two, I also want to point out that these ecumenical councils, when they're teaching and they have largely Western representation, if they teach definitively, it's binding on all East and West. But that being said, it doesn't necessarily mean that the East is bound to express it in the way that the West does, or that these councils expressed it, or that it even has to emphasize these things in the way they may be emphasized in the West. As long as they recognize the teaching itself, it can be expressed differently and even emphasized differently. For instance, post-schism, you have definitions on purgatory. Well, purgatory is going to have to be accepted by a reunified church. The East are going to have to accept it, what the church actually defined, which is incredibly minimal. But does the East then have to express it in the way that the council does? No, it can use different ways to express it as long as the meaning of the proposition remains the same. Different ways of expressing is allowed. Different emphasis is allowed. Different priorities are allowed, as long as the substance of the proposition is affirmed.
See you next time. God bless.